Title: The Weight of Hope. David had always been a dreamer. Growing up in a small town, he often found solace in his imagination. While his peers were content with the simple comforts of life, David dreamt of bigger things. He dreamt of owning a successful business, of providing a better life for his mother and younger sister, of breaking free from the chains of financial struggle. But the harsh reality of his current situation weighed him down every day. At 22, David worked 2 jobs, one at a coffee shop during the day and another as a delivery driver at night. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. He lived in a small, crumbling apartment on the outskirts of the city, a place that always seemed to echo with his worries. The walls were thin and the floors creaked under every step, but it was all he could afford. Every night after his long shifts, he'd lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, lost in thought. He would think about the business he longed to start, the plans he'd written in notebooks that sat collecting dust on his nightstand. But there were always doubts that filled his mind like a storm, drowning out the flickers of hope. One evening, as David was scrolling through his phone after a long shift, he came across an ad for a business competition. The grand prize was exactly what he needed, a sizable sum of money to jumpstart his business. It felt like a sign, like something bigger than himself was offering him, a chance to make his dreams a reality. The competition was open to anyone with an idea, and the entry deadline was fast approaching. David hesitated. His mind swirled with thoughts of inadequacy. What if my idea isn't good enough? What if I fail? But there was another voice inside him, a quiet whisper that urged him to take the chance. He spent the next few days working on his proposal, pouring all his energy into it. Late nights turned into early mornings, his tired eyes glued to his laptop screen as he fine-tuned every word, every detail. It was exhausting, but he didn't care. This was his chance. The day of submission came, and David hesitated for a moment before hitting send. His heart raced as the screen confirmed that his application had been submitted. He could feel the weight of his decision, but he also felt a small flicker of hope. Days turned into weeks, and David fell back into his routine. He worked long hours, keeping his mind distracted, trying not to think about the competition. But it was always there, lurking in the background. He had given it everything he had, and now all he could do was wait. During those weeks, David couldn't help but scroll through social media, where his friends posted pictures of their success, vacations, new jobs, and new opportunities. They seemed to have it all together, while David still felt stuck in the same place, barely scraping by. He wanted to believe that his hard work would pay off, but doubt crept in like a shadow, and he started to question whether he was on the right path. Maybe he wasn't cut out for success. Maybe he should just accept that this was his life, working tirelessly just to survive. One chilly evening, after coming home from his delivery shift, David's phone buzzed. His heart skipped a beat. It was an email from the competition organizers. With trembling hands, he opened it. The first few lines were polite, encouraging even. But as he read on, the words hit him like a ton of bricks. He hadn't won. His idea hadn't been enough. He wasn't chosen. David sank into his couch, the weight of failure pressing down on him. His eyes blurred with tears, and for a moment he couldn't breathe. All the work, the late nights, the sacrifice, none of it had been enough. He had given it his all, and it still hadn't been enough. The disappointment was crushing. He questioned everything, his decisions, his worth, his dreams. He felt like a failure, like he'd let everyone down, especially his mother, who had always believed in him. The next few days were hard for David. He withdrew into himself, spending long hours staring at the walls, feeling lost. But as time passed, something inside him began to shift. He realized that failure didn't define him. It was only a part of the journey. He hadn't won, but he had tried. He had pushed himself beyond what he thought was possible. That realization, however small, reignited a spark within him. The dreams he had weren't gone. They were still there, waiting for him. And he wasn't about to let one setback stop him from chasing them. One evening, while sitting in his small apartment, David made a decision. He wasn't going to give up. He had failed, yes, but he would rise again. His journey wasn't over. There would be more competitions, more opportunities, and more chances to try. And he would keep going no matter how many times he stumbled. David understood that success wasn't a straight path. It was messy, filled with challenges and setbacks, but it was also filled with hope. And as long as he had that hope, he would keep moving forward. Because even when everything seemed impossible, there was always a way forward. David woke up the next morning with a renewed sense of purpose. The world hadn't changed overnight, but something inside him had shifted. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, he felt ready to face it. As he walked out the door to start his shift, he looked up at the sky, and for the first time in weeks, he smiled. The weight of his doubts hadn't disappeared, but he no longer let them hold him back. He had learned something valuable. The journey itself was worth more than the destination. With that thought in mind, David took the first step toward a future filled with possibilities. There was no turning back now.